be definite and must be unequivocal. Okay? Must be certain, definite, and unequivocal. If they are done with what they are doing in the control room, I will be able to share the screen, okay? So it must be certain, it must be definite, and it must be unequivocal. So you will see that to actually advance to that stage, the person making the offer must have done some homework, must have actually thought through the entire thing and say, well, if I get this, I think it's good enough for me. So there are some legwork that ought to have been done even before an offer is made. You look at an item, you look at your mind, so how much will I get it in Alaba? All these ShopRite, all this more, they will sell it 3 times. If I go to Balogun, then you say, this is how much I'm willing to offer. So at that stage, you have made up your mind. So the only thing you are waiting for is the other party to say, yes, deal, I agree. It's like a man who is fantasizing about a lady, finally made up his mind to make a proposal. You know, at that stage, he has thought, oh, is she fair? Is she tall? Is she from my ethnic group? Are we of the same religion? Will my parents accept her? Will she accept me? Can I live the rest of my life? So by the time he goes to that lady, unfortunately, ladies don't go to men in Nigeria. You know, if a woman tries that, she'll be called names. And I think that just favors men unnecessarily. It's not a patriarchal society. If a man could walk up to 10 ladies and finally see who will say yes, why should the lady not also be able to walk up to a man and say, look, I think I like you, I like your package, I would like to spend the rest of my life with you. Because a woman can wait, admire 10 men, and none of them will come up. Anyway, let's come back to law of contract class. I know some of you will be interested in that. You just want us to continue on that trajectory, but that won't be law of contract. So offer must be certain, definite, and unequivocal, such that all you expect of the other party is to say yes. Then the other party must have made up his mind that, look, if the proposal is acceptable, is ready to be bound. Then the offer must also come from a capable person. I cannot offer to sell what does not belong to me. So if I offer what belongs to my spouse, you know, it cannot be valid. Can you please mute? Who is that, for God's sake? Please, we need to conduct ourselves properly in this class. It's very disrespectful to unmute your mic when the class is going on. Please, I beg you. Let us mute our mic so that we can maximize our gains. So there will be a time when I will ask you to intervene by asking questions. So please, let's abide by the rules. Okay? So the next one is must be made by a capable person. In the case of Ajayi Obe and the Executive Secretary of Family Planning Committee, somebody attended an interview. The person happened to know the chairman who chaired the interview. And the chairman told the person that, oh, you did very well. You should expect our letter. But The person eventually got a letter from the chairman. So the board met and decided to give the job to somebody else. So the guy, the applicant who got the letter from the chairman then instituted an action. And then the defense was that, look, the chairman who offered the person a job did not have the capacity to do so. So it's very, very important when you are making a contract, especially if somebody is making an offer to you, for you to ascertain whether that person has authority to make that offer. If I'm acting on behalf of a company and I said, our company will supply you 10,000 tons of 10,000 barrels of diesel. Before you jump at it, you need to confirm who is making this offer. Is there a difference from an offer made by the MD of the company or an offer made by a clerk? So if an MD makes an offer, of course, you know that he's capable. Okay? There are offers I cannot make on behalf of the University of Lagos. Notwithstanding that I'm a professor in the uni. There are offers that only the registrar can make, not even the VC, because of the bureaucracy. Okay? So you can see that there are certain imperatives for there to be an offer. So it may be the first building block, you know, it has some content, some elements. And this is why it beats my imagination, or it baffles me, when people go to court and claim that there is a contract and that the contract has been breached, even when there is no offer. Or even when the offer has not been accepted. I will illustrate this with a case. Okay? After we have considered acceptance. So what do we mean by acceptance? So please let me pause at this stage and find out what is going on. So let me say a little about offer before we jump to acceptance. So an offer is a proposition made by one party called the offeror to another called the offeree, indicating his willingness to be contractually bound on certain terms, provided that those terms are accepted by the other party. So an offer may be made expressly or implied from the conduct of the party. So without saying a word, if someone can make an offer, and again, let's look at you want to propose to a lady, you may say it, will you marry me? Will you be my life partner or something like that? You can also go on your knees and then bring out a ring if you want to engage. Okay? So you may make an offer to a transporter just by going to where the car is parked or where the boy is parked and then enter without saying a word. Why this rule? If somebody cannot talk, does it mean that he cannot make a contract? We have people who are deaf and dumb. They can only contract by conduct, by do signs and all that. So it may also be made to a particular person or to the public at large. So I can make an offer to James alone or to Shodia. I can also make an offer to the public at large. If I put an advert in the newspaper, as it was done in the case of Khalil and Kabolik Smoke Box Company. Okay? Khalil and Kabolik Smoke Box Company. An offer was made to the whole world. If you see something in the newspaper, it means anybody who is interested can come up. If you put an advert in the newspaper that, look, you are looking for a life partner, it must be from this area, it's not to a particular person, it's not to James, it's not to Shodia, it's to anybody who meets that description. So the issue now is that an offer to the whole world? You know, no. You know, is it an offer to the whole world? You know? So now, we will look at the case of Khalil and Kabolik Smoke Box later. So for a proposition to amount to an offer, I've already said what the term should be. Then the last one is that the offer must be communicated to the other party. If you intend to say yes, you better say it. If you intend to accept, you better say it. If you do not accept and you say, oh, I have it in mind to accept, if somebody else accepts the offer from the same person, there is no more any offer for you to accept. So whether there is an offer will be determined from what the party said by words or by their conduct or by the circumstances of each case. Okay? So if these basic elements are absent, the person making the proposition can be said to be exploring the possibility of making an offer or getting somebody else to make it. That means you are still exploring. At this stage, there is an invitation to treat. So when I display an item with a price tag, all I'm trying to do is let's see who among all the people thronging this place will come forward to make an offer. Okay? And the case that I want to share with you as very embarrassing is the case of Olaopa and Obafemi Awolowo University. And those of you who are non-lawyers should also look at it and say, how can anybody make this type, what type of gaffe is this? It's embarrassing. So in that case, the Obafemi Awolowo University had a piece of land, a large parcel of land somewhere in Ibadan. Then they decided to invite an architect, interacted with the architect and told the architect that look, they were thinking of commercializing the property and that the architect should come up with suggestions on what they can use the land for in order to optimize the land use. But what happened next was that the architect came forward with a design for a particular thing and then sent his bill. You don't need to be a lawyer to know that the architect jumped the gun, because OAU had not made up its mind about the particular project or building that they will want to use the property for. So they refused to pay the architect. The architect went to court, lost at the High Court, lost at the Court of Appeal, and lost at the Supreme Court. And the court said that there was even no acceptance. At best, what the architect submitted was an offer, which the university was at liberty to either accept or reject. So during question and answer time, I will want one of you to please respond whether you like that decision or not. In my classes with law students, I usually ask this question: is it good law or bad law? If you come to my faculty, that is my nickname, unfortunately. Oh, good law, bad law. And by asking that question, I'm trying to make students to think whether that is a good decision or not. By so doing, you will understand the basis of that decision, and you also be able to say whether you agree with it or not. Now you have seen all the elements of contract, you see all the elements of acceptance, then you can be the judge whether this decision was right or wrong. There are so many decisions by our court, which may be sound, which may be well considered, but non-lawyers who we refer to as non-learned people may not actually understand the basis. But now, because you have the opportunity to interact with lawyers, you have a better appreciation of some of these things. Okay? So somebody should be prepared to answer that question. Is it good law or bad law? The case of Olaopa and OAU. So now, how do you distinguish an offer from an invitation to treat? You now understand what is an offer. Do you understand what is an invitation to treat? An invitation to treat is a technical term. And what it means is that it's an invitation to make offer. It refers to a scenario where somebody is trying to get somebody to make offer or make an offer himself. So when there is a display of an item in a mall on a shelf with a price tag, it's not an offer. The owner of the shop is trying to see, whether somebody will come up and then make an offer. Okay? So he may succeed, he may also not succeed. So it is not always easy to distinguish between an offer and an invitation to treat. Once they ask you to distinguish between one thing and the other, it means they are so similar, but they are not identical. So as difficult as it may be, the courts, through some line of cases, have already held that certain things amounted to invitation to treat are not an offer. Okay? The courts have made certain decisions, which we are going to, some of which we are going to see now. So the first one is the case of Fisher and Bell. I've said a lot about that. It's a case of advertisement of a flip knife, a knife with a price tag. The owner of a shop was arraigned for criminal offense. And what was the offense? He said he was accused of offering for sale a flip knife contrary to regulation. And during the trial, the lawyer to the owner of the shop now said, "My lord, I'm sorry. What my client did not amount to an offer, that it was an invitation to treat. That it is the person or persons who come into the shop and now express intention to buy who is making the offer." And the court said that is correct. So the lawyer was able to get his client off the hook. Again, I will ask you, is this a good law or a bad law? People will say law is technical. Oh, this lawyer had used technicality to free his client. It's one thing to see it from one side, but see it from the side, from the point of view of the client. You are trying to earn a living, to get your daily bread by selling. And suddenly, the state has imposed or slammed a charge of a criminal charge against you. Are you just going to smile to prison, or you are going to hire a lawyer, somebody who trained in Unilateral to bail you out? That is what happened here. You know, spoke to a lawyer, and the lawyer was able to get a technical grant to say, "My lord, I'm sorry, this is not actually an offer." So at this stage where my client was arrested, nobody has offered anything. What has happened was more or less an invitation to treat, you know, and so because there is no offer, there cannot be breach of that law. In the case of Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain and Boots Cash Chemist, this is what happened. Imagine yourself in a mall with a trolley and picking stuff and putting them in your cart. So getting to the cashier said, "Oh, we are sorry, we are not selling this and this and this. Can you insist that the cashier must sell those things to you?" Well, maybe before now, your answer is yes, of course. You put them on the shelf, you wanted to sell them, and I picked them. Why will you say you are not selling? So, ladies and gentlemen, by putting stuff on the shelf with a price tag, as established in the case of Fisher and Bell, is not an offer, but an invitation to treat. So the principle is that it is you, after picking those things, who is offering to buy them. So, and it means the other party can actually say, "Oh, we are sorry, we are not selling." They can say they are not selling because it's expired. They can say they are not selling for some other reasons. They can even say they are selling because, oh, they can't collect money at that stage because it's already closing time. So is this a good law or a bad law? So what happens if two people get to the same item at the same time and offer to buy? So must the owner of the shop go and look for another product? Oh, the owner of the shop will be happy if he has the product in stock. Okay, that's good. But what about if that's the only product? Okay, so if there is an advertisement to conduct an auction, you know, there is not an offer that an auction will take place. If an auction takes place, it is the people who are saying that, "Oh, I buy at this price," who are making the offer. And the auctioneer will be accepting when he slams the hammer against a particular bid. Are you with me? So you can see that in some cases, courts have established over the years that, look, certain things or certain scenarios do not amount to offer but invitation to treat. And again, what is an invitation to treat? It is an invitation to make offer. It is an invitation to chaffer. That's another technical word. Is an intention to get somebody to at least to get the attention of somebody so that that person can then make an offer. So when you go to show market and they are saying, oh, I have fine imported stuff. Oh, I have come. All they are trying to do is to get your attention. And it's most unfortunate that, especially in those places, they do it in such a way that they practically abuse people, molest them, or just disrespect them. I think something should be done about it. You don't need to be pulling somebody to get his attention to get to your shop. If you do that in civilized society, you will pay dearly for it. You can advertise, especially in this way of social media. So people don't have to come physically before you sell. Okay? So let's go to unilateral contract. And I want you to please be attentive because this is another concept which you have to be learned to understand it. And because you are having this interaction, you are becoming learned. You know? So a unilateral contract is a departure, is an exception to the ordinary or general definition of a contract. We said a contract is a set of promises between two or more parties. But here, there is a promise by only one party in exchange for an act by the other party. So you call a unilateral contract as a promise in exchange for an act. And what it means is that somebody promises to do something if the other party does something or acts in a particular way. And a good example is if I lose my pet and I place an advertisement in the paper and I say whoever finds it will actually be entitled to certain amount of reward. Okay? So this is exactly what happened in the case of Khalil and Kabolik. Khalil and Kabolik Smoke Ball Company. Okay? So remember the case of this celeb in the US who lost a pet and who said he will pay reward for anybody who finds it. And then by the time they return the pet, he now wants to escape liability. You will see that this has been settled long ago in the case of Khalil versus Kabolik Smoke Ball Company. Okay? So what happened in that case? Kabolik Smoke Ball Company is a manufacturing company. The company manufactures a drug called Kabolik Smoke Ball, which is used for treatment of influenza. Influenza is like cold or flu. The company was so sure about the efficacy of its product such that it put an advertisement and boasted that, look, if you buy our drug and you use it in a particular way, if symptoms persist after certain days, we will pay $100. And they did not stop at that. They said that, look, in demonstration of our seriousness, we have deposited $1,000 in Barclays Bank for us to redeem our promise. So Khalil came forward and said, look, I did exactly as you prescribed. My influenza is persisted. So where is my money? They then came forward with a series of arguments. Excuse me. And some of these arguments, you see that they are actually ingenious. Okay? So the first argument is, oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean it. It was a boastful claim. And the court said, look, this is not a boastful claim because you said it in a commercial setting, one, and you actually indicated your seriousness by saying that you have put money in an account to redeem your promise. And that bank actually existed. And you actually put money in that account. So you are not perfect. Then they said, oh, we are sorry. We cannot enter into a contract with the whole world. Now you are not the only one who read it. What about if everybody comes forward to say that I did this and it didn't happen? Then the court said that, look, this is not a contract with the whole world. Rather, it's an offer to the whole world. And that any person who comes forward by performing the prescribed terms will now bring himself or herself into a contractual relations with the offeror. Oh, they also said that, look, you didn't tell us, you didn't give us any heads up, you didn't confirm to us that, oh, you have actually bought the drug. And then that, remember we said acceptance must be communicated. And the court said, look, in this case, there is no requirement for communication of acceptance. So there is another exception. So rather, any person who comes forward to perform will bring himself into a contractual relationship with. So is there any other principle? I've stated 3. Anyway, if I remember any other one, I will let you know. So if not for this decision, people will just make promises, even in commercial setting, and not fulfill it. They will say, oh, like Nigerian breweries during this unilateral period might say that, look, if you see 3 crowns that all have the queen or the king, you will be entitled to a jackpot of maybe 50 million. So because of that, somebody prays very hard, fasts very hard, trusting that he will win. And at the end of the day, after fulfilling the condition, imagine Nigerian breweries saying that, oh, we are sorry. Nigerian breweries will not even do that. That is why most of their promotions are very successful. So once you see those brands, Glow, Brekete, they are doing something. Some of you will just leave your study and start, chasing all those things. There's nothing wrong in it. It may be your lucky day, but it's like a lottery. Okay? So, because the courts in Carbolic Smoke Board had held that, look, if you make a promise to the whole world, you must stand by it. Otherwise, you will be liable. So bear in mind that there is an obligation when this type of promises are made. So please give me 1 minute. Let me just... Okay, so let's quickly go to the next element, acceptance. So if you have any questions, just be noting them. I'll move quickly now. So acceptance. Remember, we've been drilling down on offer before now. So after the offer is well taken care of, then you now come to acceptance. Acceptance is a final expression by the offeree that he agrees to the terms of the offer as conveyed to him by the offeror. So the offeree is saying, yes, I agree. Deal. Perfect. You know, you may not say I agree. When you say perfect, or you nod your head. So acceptance must be unqualified and correspond with all the terms of the offer. This is what is called the mirror image rule. That means if you stand in the mirror, what you see is what you get. Like I'm seeing myself now from the screen. If I'm seated in the real life situation, I cannot be standing up in. So if I say I'm selling my house in Mushin to you, my house at number 10, Mushin Olosha, to you for 10 million. When you are accepting, I do not expect you to say, I will buy your house at number 11, Mushin Olosha, for 10 million. That means we are not talking about the same thing. You cannot say you will buy it for 9 million or 9.9999 million. So if you want to accept, you have to accept everything without qualification. You cannot, if you make a proposal to a lady, I want to marry you, and the lady said, oh, I agree. If 1, 2, 3 things, oh, you change your faith, you even change your tribe, is that an acceptance or a rejection? It's a rejection. So that is why in that scenario, and I'm sure some of you can relate to that. If you have just experienced if you have just experienced something relating to that, you can share it during the question and answer time. So at that stage, you know, they even plan it these days. It wasn't so in our own days. You go and bring all the paparazzi so that you can stream it. It can be on IG. So you propose to somebody and everybody is saying, accept now, accept now. And the person is saying, I have a lot of things to say. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Let me ask you, is that an acceptance? No, it cannot be. That is not an acceptance, but a rejection. So always remember the mirror image rule. So any qualification or any amendment of the offer will constitute a counterclaim. And what does a counterclaim do? A counterclaim destroys, nullifies, cancels the offer, and then replace it with a new offer. Such that the relationship of offeror and offeree is now reversed. So instead of a person accepting a proposal, so what happens? The person is now making a new offer. So if I were the other party, I would say, well, I didn't expect this. Why not give me time to go and think about it? And you will see that there is no acceptance. There is no acceptance of the offer, but a rejection and a replacement of the offer by another offer. So some of these cases, let me try and see if I can treat you to some of the examples. Okay, in Ni and Ferrado, there's an offer to buy some equipment belonging to the government, and the settlement should be made within 3 weeks and all that. So they came back and said, oh, they will make payments after on terms that are at variance with the offer. So they sold the the product to somebody else, and they came back and said, oh, but we accepted. They said, no, this is what we asked you to do. You didn't do it. So there is no acceptance. If I say pay, I want to say something to you, and you now sent acceptance and gave me a post-dated check. I want you to answer that question. Is that an acceptance? I need money for Christmas, and I want to travel. And I say, look, I want to sell this house for this amount. And then you said you agreed. And then you send me a post-dated check payable in 3 months' time. Is that not a sin? Or insult upon injury? Okay? The same thing with Orient Bank and Bilante. So the bank offered a loan to a customer on certain terms, and they said, look, sign and return this form as evidence of agreement and all that. That was never done. So the court said there was no acceptance. So you need to know another concept, which is concept of subject to contract. So when lawyers accept terms of a contract and put on top of it that this is subject to contract, not even on top, on the basis that it is subject to contract. What does subject to mean? Subject to means, it means that, look, until that thing happens, it's conditional. And here they are saying that until parties have written the agreement and executed it, there is no contract. So the two of us may talk, the two of us may do whatever, but until I commit myself in writing, there is no contract. So why should somebody contract on that basis? The general reason is that they may want to watch the market. They may want to test whether somebody else will bring a higher sum. They may also want to know what is happening in other spaces. Okay? So they may need to get the approval of their board. So, and they said, subject to contract. In the case of UBA and Tejumola, this case illustrates how laymen, those who are non-learned, how they misconstrue lawyers. And I please want you to talk to me on whether this is a good law or a bad law. Tejumola is the owner of a property that UBA wanted to lease. UBA suggested a lot of improvement to the property, which Tejumola carried out. Oh, do this, pull down this. Try and fix, knock all this together. We want this for our showroom, put it like this. After doing all that, then the bank refused to implement or enforce the contract. So Tejumola went to court, and the bank was able to say that, look, we have not signed any document. Our agreement was subject to contract. So until we sign a document, there is no bindingness. There is no binding obligation on our part. Are you with me? They said there is no bindingness, there is no binding obligation on our part. So the decision is predictable. Tejumola lost, and the court held in favor of UBA. So, ladies and gentlemen, bear in mind that the court is not a court of sentiment. It's a court of law. And what the law will enforce in practice are the rules that I'm treating you to at the moment. So even if you don't agree with them, try and understand the basis and then understand them. So The rule is once the phrase subject to contract is used, it is deemed to be sacrosanct. It is deemed to be hallowed in the sense that, you know, judges will not give effect to such a contract until they see a written document. Okay? So I continue with acceptance. Silence does not constitute acceptance. A man makes a proposal to a lady, and the lady keeps quiet. That man will commit rape, and he will be sent to jail. If it's a case of defilement, it's life imprisonment. So silence does not constitute acceptance. But if a man says, "Will you marry me?" and the lady does not respond, or the lady pulls the man from his kneeling position and then hugs him and plant a kiss either on his forehead or on his lips, is that silence? No, that is acceptance by conduct. So there must be an expression of consent, either by words, by conduct, or by a combination of words and conduct, or even in writing. You may be shy to say yes. You may send a note and say, "Yes, I agree." So the case of Feldhaus and Bindley is a case that will interest you. The principle in that case is that silence does not constitute acceptance. And this is the scenario. A nephew wanted to buy his uncle's horse and wrote to him, "Uncle, I wanted this horse. Will you sell it to me?" Of course, the uncle wanted to sell it to his nephew. I instructed the auctioneer not to sell that particular horse. Okay? So the nephew was mad in quotes, when he learned that the auctioneer had already sold the horse. So he sued the auctioneer. And then the auctioneer came up with a defense that, look, you express a desire to buy this. Your uncle hasn't gotten back to you. Unless your uncle has told you yes, you have no reasonable expectation that the horse is yours. So the court then affirmed this position and said that, look, acceptance must be expressed either by words of mouth, in writing, or by conduct, or by a combination of this. So another rule is that if the offeror prescribes the mode of acceptance, that mode of acceptance must be scrupulously complied with. For example, University of Lagos made an offer to you. They offered you admission. And then they said, to accept this admission, pay admission fee or consent fee, and all this. So if you do not follow the prescribed guidelines or the prescribed rules, you cannot argue tomorrow that there is a contract between you and University of Lagos. Look at the case of Afolabi versus Polymera Industry. The plaintiff was requested to please, they were even begging him, please read, study carefully, and sign a duplicate copy attached. Signed. So your agreement to a point that is this, signifying your agreement to all points as listed above, and return at your earliest convenience for record. There was no evidence that the plaintiff ever returned the signed duplicates. It was said that there was no acceptance. Okay? So we are now entering into some tricky aspect of the rule, one of which is posting rule. You know, the rule is that if parties agree that acceptance will be by post, you know, it's possible that a letter posted does not get delivered, or even if it gets delivered, it's not seen. So somebody can claim ignorance, how I did not see it. So the rule is that if acceptance, where acceptance is by post, a contract comes into an existence upon posting, not when the letter is received. So this was established, the posting rule was established in the case of Adam and Lisa. Okay? What happened in that case? In that case, an offer was made on a particular date. Then after that, the offeror now wanted to revoke the offer, which it was entitled to, and now sends a message. Imagine somebody wanted to buy certain things. I sent 10 trucks to Kano. Go and deliver this to Alhaji Dantata in Kano. Then on the way, I changed my mind. I then said, well, somebody should go after the consignment and then tell them to deliver it back at home or take them elsewhere. You know, in those days, technology was very, very limited. So now, after that, the offeror now immediately remember that, look, he should do this thing in a totally different way, and then send a message to countermand the initial instruction. But before that, the other party had received the letter, the document, and then sent his reply by post. So even when the offeror had not actually sold the property, so to speak, but the other now said that, look, if you ask for acceptance by post, acceptance will be deemed to have taken place when the letter was posted and not when it was received. Okay? So this is what you find in the famous Adam and Lindsay rule. So this is a convenient point to stop for now and take questions. So I'm happy to take questions at this stage. I've been urging you to reduce your questions in writing, or you may want to put your questions on the chat box. Over to you, class. Hello, those who want to talk can unmute and talk. Class governor, can you talk to me? Can you hear me at all? Please, in this your class, do you talk to the lecturer after you have been taught? Or do you just go home with it? If you don't talk back, I may be constrained to end this lecture. I have no evidence that you are attentive. Still nobody. So I understand that if you raise your hands electronically, you will be recognized and you'll be unmuted. So Vincent, we have two participants raised their hands. So please, those in the control room, help us unmute them and let us take their questions. Okay, thank you. So I'm waiting for your question, please.
Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, I'm fine, sir. This is Vincent, sir.
Vincent, okay.
Yes, sir. So, in cases whereby an offeror offers to sell, let's say, a piece of land, and then the person is selling it to, like, okay, he initially tried to accept, like, when they spoke about it, he accepted, and then later on wants to change his mind. Is it allowed in the law to, like, change your mind concerning the agreed, um, let's say, okay, you want to sell a plot of land for 2 million, and then the person you're selling it to initially made efforts to agree and later decided to change his mind and go for it at a lower price? Is it allowed in the law to change?
Very good question, Vincent. You know, there is a saying that the white man is not a good saying, but let me say it nevertheless, for it's a shame. The white man that made the pencil is also the white man that made the eraser. So we have gone to a point in our lives as a nation where we don't need any white man to even go to this space. Once we have University of Lagos, where we are training solid students like Vincent, who are very dedicated and who are going to go out there and change things. So in any case, since parties came together voluntarily to agree, they can also come together to vary what they have agreed. Okay? If I say I will buy your land for 100 million, and you agree that you will sell it to me for 100 million, when I see it, if I change my mind, what it means is that that change of mind will have consequence because it will amount to a breach of contract if I change my mind without your consent. But if I change my mind and say, oh, I can't pay 100 million, I can pay only 99 million. If it is acceptable to you, you can take it. But what it means is that you have varied that contract. So that means the old contract is gone, yielding place to a new contract whose terms have been redefined. So it means when I'm saying, oh, this is what I'm ready to pay, I'm making a new offer, which you are now accept. Okay, so you can change your mind, but your change your mind must be mutual. There is what you call the principle of mutuality in contract. The two of you must agree. So if I change my mind and you don't change your mind, then it is left to you to sue the bastard. You hire a contract, and then you hire a lawyer, and then approach the court for damages. Are you with me? So another question. So who is the second person? So I asked a question. I said, the case of Khalil and Kabolik, the case of Fisher and Bell, somebody that displayed a flick knife, got a smart lawyer. That lawyer must have trained in our school. So got a smart lawyer to knock off the charge. Is it a good law or a bad law? So I'm expecting answers to my question so that it's not just one-way traffic. So nobody.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. To me, I would. Okay.
Yes, speak on, please. Mention your name
Okay.
and speak on.
This is Vincent, sir.
Oh, Vincent again. Thank God for students like you. But I want as many as possible in this class to participate.
Okay, sir.
So not just one person. So Vincent, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Yeah, to me, I would say it's a good law in the sense that the person that he brought the flick of knife, he didn't, like you said, he was not the one that made the offer because someone came into the shop and saw it and then said, "Oh, he would love to buy it." So it's the person that is actually making the offer, not him saying who will buy this and all that. Because if he had been the one to initiate it, then I'm sure that the law would be against him. But the fact that he didn't initiate the contract, but the person that came offering, that's why the law favored him by saying that, oh, he never initiated it and all that. To me, I feel that is a good contract because if you should look at it, it's almost like, let's say, almost like unctioning the person that is almost like unshunning because the person didn't initiate the offer by saying he's going to pay some sort of amount for it. So at that point, anything that um happens to the flick of knife or the person that buys it, he can also claim that oh, he wasn't the one that made the offer because the person was the one that came to him, right, saying he wants to get that flick of knife. So I feel it's a good law but
Okay.
to me, some might say it was manipulated, but I don't
Okay.
think it was.
So thank you, Vincent. Can we have one more comment on Fisher and Bell? And I enjoin you when you are reading to reflect on some of these cases. If you don't reflect on them, you will not understand their basis. So another attempt, please. Okay, if there is no other attempt, let me just say that, look, government is the one who prescribes offenses. For example, in this class, not muting your microphone, let's assume it's an offense. So you are already clear what is an offense. So can I now punish you for something that is not an offense at the time that it was done? Okay? So if the government says we do not encourage people offering, and they initially thought that by advertising a flick knife with a price tag is an offer. Now they know better. They can go and change the law. But you cannot punish somebody on the basis of what is not even supported by your law. So if your law does not actually prescribe something as an offense, nobody can be caught by it. The saying is that where there is no law, there is no sin. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 2. Sincere apologies that we didn't start on time. We will improve and make sure that we the lecture comes on stream right on time. So you also join us on time going forward. Okay? So we take it from there. When is the next class? Okay, my colleague will communicate that to you. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.
Excuse me, sir, I have a question.
Welcome.
Padà ó jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ tán fan kó máa gbádùn fan. Èmi kù sí lílá alẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá dẹ̀ rí gbádùn lálẹ́ sí ọ̀tún kẹ̀lú pẹ̀lú yẹn. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ tán fan.